day ahead. A brief hot spell this time though, gradually turning cooler towards the end of the week. And for this evening, we've still got a north-south split in the weather. Low pressure dominating northern areas, but high pressure holding on to the south. So mostly dry with clear skies for much of England and Wales, but the low pressure still continues to bring in more cloud and some spells of rain across much of Scotland and at times Northern Ireland and northwest England. For although it is set to be a very warm, if not quite muggy night across parts of the south, where temperatures aren't going to drop much past between 17 to 19 degrees, so a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping in through this evening. Then on Wednesday, there will be some spells of rain to start, this turning heavy as it crosses over hills, but a little bit brighter towards the far north of Scotland, though still some showers pushing through. Still some rain affecting parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northwest England, and perhaps a bit more cloud around Wales to start compared to recent mornings. But otherwise, you can see it's a very warm and bright start across much of England and Wales, and temperatures are going to be pushing up through the course of the day, a hotter day into tomorrow compared to what we've seen this afternoon. And there'll still be a fair amount of cloud, this thick enough to produce some spells of rain still across much of the northwest and turning a little heavy at times. But for most, particularly across central and southern England and Wales, intense sunshine, high UV levels and temperatures pushing up into the mid-30s, so a very hot day here. On Thursday though, the temperatures will start to come down. There will be some cloud and perhaps the odd shower, very hit and miss across England and Wales. Longer spells of at times quite heavy rain pushing into Northern Ireland and parts of Scotland. So we remain in that north-south split, and we remain that way for the rest of the week. Temperatures will be coming down though, but still feeling warm in the sunshine.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a collision on the M27 eastbound between junctions 11 and 12 in Fareham. The M25 anti-clockwise is slow following a collision at junction 14 near Heathrow. The M4 westbound slip road between junctions 18 and 19 in Bath is affected by a collision. North of the border, the M8 eastbound has lane restrictions at junction 24 slip on causing queues. Across Wales, the A55 at Britannia Bridge is affected by disruption. And on the trains, there are disruptions on Avanti West Coast services between Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
welcome to GB News Tonight with me, Christopher Hope. Coming up on tonight's show.
Mean that anyone who did cross the channel and arrive in Dover could be immediately deported within around about a week.
Give that a second, it's just dragging along.
As a migrant boat is launched from the furthest ever point along the French coast towards the UK, I'll be joined by the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp after a French ship fired shots within 300 metres of him in the English Channel earlier today. And as yet another poll shows the Burnham bounce is alive and well, I'll be speaking to Reform UK's chairman Lee Anderson MP and asking him whether Reform should now be scared of Labour. Meanwhile,
if our rich people leave, they're also our biggest taxpayers.
Bombshell new estimates have suggested that the number of millionaires has collapsed to its lowest level since the financial crash nearly 20 years ago. So who will be left to pay all the taxes? And finally, could be one of the most extraordinary club cricket scandals in years. Saltburn CC in the North Yorkshire and South Durham League is being investigated over claims of tricking umpires by clicking fingers to mimic the sound of a ball hitting the bat. Like that. That's all to come. But first, the news with Sophia Wensler.
Chris, thank you and good evening. It's just gone 7 o'clock. Your top stories this hour. Rescue efforts are continuing into the night in Japan after a 7.1 magnitude earthquake hit Kumamoto, with people missing in a collapsed shopping mall. Video shared online shows people evacuating the area surrounded by smoke and dust. Japanese officials are reporting multiple deaths and injuries, power cuts, ruptured roads, but they are still assessing the full scale of the damage. President Donald Trump's meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky and Benjamin Netanyahu were positive, according to the White House. The Israeli Prime Minister arrived at the White House to meet with the US President in their first face-to-face meeting since the Iran war began. Earlier, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was with the US President and said he had a good meeting with Donald Trump. Andy Burnham will give parents on benefits £4,500 a year if their children become apprentices. The government has announced a new handout targeted at families on universal credit in a bid to remove the welfare system's disincentive to work. Currently, parents can claim universal credit payments for their children up to the age of 18, but those handouts are withdrawn if they take up an apprenticeship, causing families to lose almost £100 a week. The new plan would change that. Firefighters are racing to control major wildfires near Bordeaux and Madrid as another intense heatwave threatens to make the crisis worse. More than 300,000 people have been evacuated across France and Spain in recent days. In southwest France, crews west of Bordeaux say the fire has stabilised, but it's still not under control. In Spain, crews are also battling major fires near Madrid, where temperatures are expected to climb to 39 degrees. With no rain forecast until at least Friday, officials warn this could be a critical window in stopping the flames from spreading again. A man obsessed with the TV serial killer Dexter has been found guilty of murdering 2 homeless men before he killed his cellmate while awaiting trial. 40-year-old James Desborough murdered Claudio Aquilo, who was 57, and Daniel Coleman, who was 43, before dismembering and hiding their bodies in Cornwall last year. The former builder is already serving a life sentence after he strangled his prison cellmate while on remand, awaiting his trial because he was snoring. The president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, is plotting a World Cup sell-off to private investors. European football's governing body, UEFA, has reacted furiously, insisting the World Cup is not an asset to trade. But FIFA, the sport's global governing body, said it intends to expand football development funding to more than £7.5 billion and invite third-party investment in the new venture. It's reported UEFA is already considering its legal options as European football prepares to go head-to-head with football's world governing body. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Chris.
Thank you, Sophia. Now, welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, Christopher Hope. Another sunny day goes by and yet another migrant record has been broken. Yes, today a migrant boat has launched from the furthest point ever along the French coastline, with today's vessel coming up from Fécamp, meaning a 70-mile-long journey. That's not the boat there on screen, a different boat, of course. This, of course, represents a stark contrast with a typical 27-mile journey from Calais to Dover. Well, the other big news today is, of course, this.
That anyone who did cross the channel and arrive in Dover could be immediately deported within around about a week.
Give that a second, it's just dragging a line by the look of it.
Is that a warning shot towards us? I don't know.
That's what I was trying to work out.
Okay.
As far as I know, if you're having a live firing exercise, then that's always announced on the VHF to all the vessels in the vicinity, and they actually will give the position of where that's going to take place. And I didn't hear there's been nothing announced on the VHF from what we've heard this morning. We've been out since 6 o'clock.
Yeah. So it sounds like it might have been an effort to intimidate us.
It could well have been. It might have just been a little bit of a warning shot and maybe just trying a bit of show of force or something.
That's right. Earlier today, the French Navy fired 17 shots near the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, whilst he was monitoring illegal channel crossings just south, of course, of Dover. Now, a statement from the French Defence Staff described it as merely a small arms firing exercise, one that is normal activity for a vessel on operations. They added, this exercise is unrelated to the presence of a British ship in the area, which was outside the range of the firing. But it is strange, it seems, that the ship didn't alert Philp's vessel in advance. With me now is the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp. Chris Philp, you're now back in Dover. You look slightly sunburned from your day in the Channel, but you're almost slightly alarmed by what happened to you.
Oh, Chopper, hello, good evening. Yes, back on dry land now in Dover. We got back just a few minutes ago. And I must say, I do find the French government's explanation completely implausible. They only just discharged the firearms when they were in the immediate vicinity of our vessel. They weren't firing before, they weren't firing afterwards. No warnings were given on the radio. There were no signals displayed on the boat itself. And there was no indication there was a live firing exercise going on. Our skipper, who's been sailing on these waters for nearly 30 years, said he's never seen anything like it before. So I'm afraid to say, Chris, I don't find the French government's explanation very plausible at all.
And you'll be complaining, will you, to the French government about this? I mean, or will your party leader be complaining, or even the government complaining and make it into a diplomatic incident?
Well, I will certainly be raising this with the French ambassador in London, and I very much hope that the Foreign Office will be raising it as well on behalf of the United Kingdom.
Of course, while you were there, you saw some more crossings, not the one which has come from somewhere near Le Havre, but a different crossing, and you saw the way the French authorities were dealing with that large, small boat.
That's right. It was truly shocking. It was a very large boat. It was one of these mega dinghies, or Burnham boats, as I now call them. It had over 100 people on it, mostly young men. And there were French forces in the area, both on the beach that it embarked from and also at sea. There was a French warship and a smaller French rib as well. The migrant boat, left the beach. Then it went back to the beach to pick up more people before finally setting sail. And neither the French forces on the beach nor the French forces at sea stopped it. Shabana Mahmoud's deal, which involves paying £500 million of our money, is not working. The Belgians, by contrast, actually do stop boats at sea, and that's why now there are no embarkations from Belgium, but the French don't bother doing that. In fact, it was even worse than that. We got drone footage showing that the French were at sea handing out life jackets. You can see it in this photograph here, which we took with a drone earlier. They were handing out life jackets to the illegal immigrants and very cheerfully waving them off on their way to the UK. So Shabana Mahmood's deal is not working. And to be honest, when you look at that dinghy, this footage was taken probably about 2 or 3 hours ago, the other side of the channel. And when Andy Burnham says, oh, he thinks illegal immigration is sorted out, well, look at that picture there of a dinghy load of over 100 illegal immigrants, mostly young men, heading, that boat's on the water as we speak, heading towards the UK. It's pretty clear that illegal immigration is not fixed. The only thing protecting our borders is certainly not Shabana Mahmood's terrible deal. It is the weather. That is the only thing helping us out this year. It's the weather. So Andy Burnham is very naive and out of touch with reality when he says the problem is fixed. You can see on the screen evidence taken just a few hours ago showing the problem is most certainly not fixed.
I remember back in 2018 when 90 or so crossed from France in 3 days. It was declared a national emergency by Sajid Javid, who was the Home Secretary at the time. And now we're seeing a boatload of the same number in a single boat coming across. It is shocking, and we've come inured to it. 200,000 small boat crossings, we estimate, since that moment. It is a crisis that is never ending, it seems.
Well, it is a crisis. It is a border security crisis. It's also a public safety crisis because, of course, we know many of these illegal immigrants, mostly young men, have gone on to commit some really quite serious crimes. Most notoriously, Deng Majek, a Sudanese small boat migrant who murdered a young woman, Rihanna White. There have been many rapes and sexual assaults committed by these illegal immigrants as well. We do have to stop this. The only way, in my view, to do that is to leave the ECHR, which will then enable the United Kingdom to deport all of these illegal immigrants within a week of arrival, with no court process, no asylum claim, no modern slavery claim, no human rights claim, no immigration legal aid, no endless legal wrangling, just deported back to their country of origin if that's possible, or to a safe third country like Rwanda if not. And if those illegal immigrants know they will get rapidly deported, then of course they won't bother attempting the crossing in the first place. They'll just stay in France. Yep. Australia did something very similar 13 years ago called Operation Sovereign Borders. It worked in Australia then, and it would work here now. And that is what the government needs to do. But there is no sign that either Andy Burnham or Shabana Mahmood are going to adopt that proposal.
Well, listen, Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, thank you for joining us today. A very big day and a busy day for you in the channel, but thank you for joining us tonight on GB News tonight. Thank you. Well, it's day 8 of Andy Burnham's leadership as the Prime Minister, and he has finally said something about illegal migration. Sort of.
Boat crossings are down quite significantly year on year, so that does suggest that the plan is working. Of course, there has to be rigorous checks so that people are not put through into a situation where they are out without the relevant safeguards. And absolutely, I can give you a commitment that that is the clear instruction that I am giving.
It appears as though Andy Burnham's position on illegal migration is about the same as Keir Starmer's, but will that be enough? I'm joined now by my panel, the former Conservative Minister Sir Ranil Jayawardena and the journalist and former Press Secretary to Lib Dem leader Paddy Ashdown, Joe Phillips. Joe Phillips, to you first. You know, it's quite a shock there for the Shadow Home Secretary to have those shots fired near him. And the French answer is simply it's a training exercise. Well, what about an apology? Pardon, they say in France.
Pardon, indeed. Chris Philp, remind the viewers, was actually a minister in the previous government. For a brief time, he was an immigration minister, but he was really sort of Home Office and policing. I don't know whether that's the first time he's been on a boat in the Channel to have a look at the dinghies, but I would say you can hear very clearly on that clip, the BBC reporter he's with says they are trailing something, which bears out exactly what the French have said. It was a training exercise, target practice. How Chris Philps, who, as far as I know, has not served in the military, can tell whether that's live ammunition or not, and has turned it into a story about him. But I hope he's got some after-sun.
So, Ranil Jayawardena, is it all in his mind, this threat to Chris Philp, or is it actually was it bit alarming. You've seen the footage.
Yeah, well, I mean, the skipper of that vessel that he was on seemed to think that this was unusual.
No warning.
That if there was a training exercise, that it would have been revealed in advance. But, you know, look, the French have now apologised.
Not really. It's a training exercise.
They've made a statement on it, and I think, you know, let's draw a line there, because that's not actually the issue that I think GB News viewers are interested in the most. They're interested in the fact that there are still large numbers of people coming across illegally across the channel.
Yeah.
And, you know, that is a big concern. And I think, you know, I actually think Andy Burnham does get this, because I think, you know, speaking to voters outside of London, which he has done for many, many years,
Yes.
I think he will have picked that up. And, you know, I certainly hope that he gets it, because I want this to be dealt with. I think it's in our national interest.
But he's only talked about it because he was asked about it by journalists today. He's not volunteering anything about it, Joe.
No, but the fact that he kept Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary, I think sends out a very clear signal, because she is much tougher than any of her predecessors in the Labour Party.
She turned down chancellorship, possibly.
Well, she may well have done, but, you know, maybe she was never in the running for it. But the fact that he's done that and he's prepared to have that, you know, because Chris Philp's argument is the same, we'll withdraw from the ECHR. That isn't the answer. I think what's really shocking, though, Chris, is the size of the boats that are being used
now. Well, they're huge now, aren't they?
They are massive.
Yep. And it's not just the size, though, is it, Ranjai Warden? They come, this one, one we know is coming on the way now, is from Fécamp, which is near Le Havre. Now, if you've travelled anywhere...
It's a long way.
Long way. If you travelled to Le Havre, it's a long way on the boat, on the ferry. This is directly down below Eastbourne.
Yes, and it's concerning also to hear what Chris did expose there, which is that the French authorities seem to be encouraging people or supporting people making their journey rather than turning them back round. Because, you know, the part of the deal, and I agree with what Joe says, actually, that Shabana Mahmood and the fact that Andy Burnham kept her at Home Secretary, Shabana is tough on immigration. The deal was meant to stop that sort of thing happening, though. And so I sincerely hope that the Home Office will take Chris Philp's footage on board in good faith and say, look, the deal was to stop this sort of stuff from happening.
And there are two frigates bobbing around in the channel, not stopping that boat coming across.
No, but we don't know whether those frigates were doing something else. I mean, we know that the boat that, you know, was threatening Chris Philp, terrifying, was nothing to do with this. This was on a completely separate exercise. And
or was it? We don't know.
Well, I think, you know, as you rightly say, the story is not about Chris Philp, much as he would love it to be. The story is about immigration.
Yeah. We may have the map we can pull up of where this boat's come from. Fécamp. No, we may. It's a long way down.
Well, it's not the quickest way across.
Well, that shows to a degree that maybe the work by the French and UK border staff is working. You see it there. It's a long way there down from where Calais and Dunkirk is. Yeah. And that shows the distances people are willing to pay to travel that far.
Well, and I think it's interesting as well that, you know, there was some movement along the Belgian coast, but the Belgian authorities, because it was in a very touristy sort of area,
built it off. OK. Now, Joe Phillips, stay with us, and Ranjai Warden, stay with us too. Coming up in just a moment. He's having his best life, isn't he? As another poll shows that Burnham Bounce is alive and well, I'll be speaking to Reform UK Chairman Lee Anderson and asking him whether Reform should start being frightened of Labour.
at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, Christopher Hope. Now, 1 week after taking office, polling suggests the new Prime Minister is enjoying a honeymoon period. Yesterday, a poll from More in Common put Andy Burnham's Labour Party on 28%, up 4 points in a week and 4 points ahead of Reform UK, which was down 2 points. Meanwhile, a poll from Survation today has Labour 2 points ahead of Reform. These polls are the first time Reform UK haven't led in a poll in well over a year. Should Nigel Farage's party be worried? Well, the best person to ask that of is the party's UK party chairman, Lee Anderson. Lee Anderson, welcome. Are you frightened of your old party? You've been round the houses. Labour, the Tories, now Reform UK. Are they eating your lunch?
No, not at all. I mean, you lot in the media are getting carried away with this. I mean, for the past, I think it's 350 polls, we've been the top. We've consistently been the top. We had a real stormer in the May elections. We won, what, I think it was 1,450 seats. We had a great May the year before. We're looking forward to next May. We had a great time in Scotland, a great time in Wales. We've done really, really well over the past year or so. And two polls come out that aren't favourable, and you lot in the media jumping all over it. But I will say this, there has been a bit of a bounce. It's not all down to Andy Burnham. I think a lot of this bounce, as I said last week on this channel, Chopper, is the fact that Keir Starmer has eventually gone. That's enough to make anybody breathe a sigh of relief. And when you look what Starmer actually brought in when he first became PM, one of his first major policies was to scrap the winter fuel payment. And I think that was the beginning of the end for Sir Keir Starmer. But I think Burnham's gone one further. We're hearing about this death tax now. He's not attacking the living, he's attacking the dead. So we'll see how it pans out. There's a long way to go. Over the coming months, he will get some proper scrutiny in the media and in Parliament, in the Commons. He's had no scrutiny yet, and that bounce, I predict, will shrink away.
Aren't these figures showing that those people who may have lent their votes to you, maybe in the local elections in May and the previous elections, are now going back to Labour because, as you say, Keir Starmer's left, and that's your problem? He literally his party is appealing to the people who had gone over to you from Labour.
Look, people went to Labour in vast numbers, not as much as what they did to Jeremy Corbyn, Chopper, but the last election, Labour won on a landslide, and a lot of those Labour voters have voted Reform. We know that in local elections and mayoral elections, and people are quite nimble in the way they vote these days, and rightly so. You should pick the party that you think best suits your needs. At the moment, Burnham's saying a lot of the right things, he's making the right noises, but as I've just said, Chopper, he's had no real scrutiny yet. And the problem Burnham's got, he could have all these great policies in his mind to do stuff, but he's still got 400 backbenchers to please, and he won't please them, just as Starmer didn't. And eventually, the blades will come out, and they'll sink it straight between his shoulder blades.
But on the wheels getting wobbly on Reform UK, you've got various investigations, the police are looking at donations and so forth. I mean, it's getting quite difficult for you to make your mark. You've had this sugar rush. The sugar rush of support at the beginning is now ending up with some kind of hangover the next day.
You can stop talking nonsense, Chopper, about this silly sugar rush. You've mentioned it before. We said, when we first got elected in 2024, we said, watch out, they're going to come for us. And they are coming for us. They're coming for us in vast numbers. Parts of the gutter press, they're coming for us. And some of the journalists are coming for us. We're not bothered. We can take it on the chin. We know what's happening out there in the real world. When I go to Clacton and campaign for Nigel, as I have done many times so far, and I will do in the coming days, the word on the street is completely different. You know, the people in Clacton will decide who's going to be their Member of Parliament. People in Skegness and Boston will decide. The people in Ashfield will decide who their MP is going to be at the next election. And let the public decide, not you lot.
Yep. Well, of course, we're all Democrats. I'm just saying what the polls show, not what journalists are saying about your party. But a quick one, Zach Polanski, he briefly republished or retweeted a message, a picture of a supporter wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine on it, saying that the T-shirt message said, making plans for Nigel. What do you make of this? don't think I've heard Zach Polanski apologise for it. Offence for Nigel Farage. He regrets publishing it, of course.
Well, he's not here to defend himself, but the man's an idiot. He's got form on this, Chopper. I mean, this is a party that's supposed to promote diversity and kindness and love and inclusivity. You know, I saw the picture of this, I don't know what it was, this person. He'd got the rainbow hat on, promoting all sorts of, you know, diversity and inclusivity. And then the picture of a guillotine saying, we've got plans for Nigel. These creatures, they've got no place in politics. And, you know, I don't like to report people to the police for making stupid comments and sharing stuff. But the bar's been set on this. We saw that with Lucy Connolly. She made an awful tweet. She apologised and deleted it. But she went to prison for 3 years for that. So that's where the bar is at the moment, Chopper.
OK. Thank you for joining us there. Lee Anderson, of course, the Reform UK Party Chairman. Thank you for joining us tonight on GBN tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you. I'm joined now in the studio by the former Conservative Minister, Sir Ranald Jayawardena, and the journalist and former press secretary to the late, in fact, Lib Dem leader Paddy Ashdown, Joe Phillips. What do you make then of this Burnham bounce, Joe Phillips?
Well, I think it's to be expected. For a start, he speaks human. And I think the point that Lee Anderson made there, you know, Keir Starmer arrived with this landslide majority and told everybody he was Eeyore, wasn't he? He was absolutely, and Andy Burnham is Tigger. And I think, you know, people have responded, partly, as Lee says, you know, to goodbye to Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, and hello to somebody who is much more personable. But, you know, whether the bounce lasts, because people are notoriously
So it's to be expected, basically?
Yes, it's to be expected. I think the shine is coming off Reform. You know, they have lost 2 by-elections. They didn't do well in Aberdeen South. They're set now to not win the Manchester mayoral election. And we've got...
Well, we're in the middle of a purdah here. We can't go near those areas. But, yes,
but the shine has come off, I think.
Yes, but there were reasons why Aberdeen South was won by the Tories. Everyone piled in behind the one unionist party to beat the SNP.
Yeah.
So, Ranald Jayawardena, what's your take on this? You've been around the houses. I mean, everyone who's affected by difficult polling blames the media or blames one poll, not many polls. But there just feels something in the wind about Labour moving ahead now of the pack.
Well, I think that can be true as well as some of what Lee said. Yeah. You know, so I think it's very clear Andy Burnham is a different politician from Keir Starmer, and the country is responding to that. He's communicating, you know, a fresh set of policies. He's telling a story where he wants to take the country, and the country is indicating that it's more supportive of that than Sir Keir Starmer. But I don't think, and so this is where Lee is right, I don't think Reform needs to be worried either at this stage, because they're still polling very high. Yeah. Remember, you know, this is a party that came from nowhere, and they're still polling second highest. Well, they're still, I'm sure, in some polls,
the Tories have bounced up as well.
Jeff Phillips.
You know, yeah, fine, that's great too.
No, but I think that's more significant in a funny sort of way, because actually, if you end up with, you know, Kemi Badenoch Andy Burnham as much more, if you like, mainstream politicians. Maybe we get back to grown-up politics.
Well, it might well be, and of course, you know, I'm a former Conservative
What does it mean, grown-up politics?
I'm a former Conservative MP, so, you know...
It means people not coming up with ridiculous slogans like Burnham Boat and being gratuitously offensive.
Well, hang on.
No, I mean, actually...
No, look,
John, have a go back at that.
I would be delighted for Kemi and Andy to be able to spar at the dispatch box as, you know, a part of a two-party system. Again, of course I would, because I'm a former Conservative MP.
Yeah.
But I think the point is that the public, in a democracy, as you said, you know, have the right to vote any way they wish.
Yep. And
they're still indicating that a large chunk of them would still vote for reform. So, look, I think reform, the Conservatives, the Liberals, the Labour, should all campaign on their own
What's
merit.
interesting, there's a poll out today from Delta Poll, a different one. Reform and Labour down 1 each on 27. Tories up 1 at 19.
Yeah.
There we are. Yeah.
Greens at 10. Lib Dems down 2 at 8. It looks maybe it's three-party politics now, and one isn't the Lib Dems nowhere to be seen.
No, but you know the Lib Dems never do very well on polling, but we do always do better when it actually comes to voting.
When it matters.
And I think, you know, it's all... Here we are. Andy Burnham's been in a week and people get bored. They'll be on holiday. You know, there'll be other things. And I think, you know, there will be more scrutiny as more policies are announced. But, you know, if Lee Anderson's idea of the gutter press is the Times and the Guardian, I'd hate to think what he thinks of the tabloids.
And that surely is the worry, as Joe Phillips says, isn't it? That eventually, when events start to happen, Andy Burnham won't get his own way. He's answered no press conferences yet from the Prime Minister. One recorded interview with the BBC. That's it. The chance to grill him isn't there.
That will come, as you say. Parliament will sit again in September, and Kemi will, I'm sure, hold him to account, as is her job. But I think going to the budget in October will probably be the most meaningful moment to really see whether the vision, whether the language, the communication sticks, so holds firm against reality of the fiscal picture.
Which is where I think he will lay out really clearly. You know, you've either
the 10-year plan.
And you've got to back me, because otherwise somebody else is.
But until you have to put the money together, we don't know.
Stay with us. Thank you for both being in the studio, of course. On Zach Polanski, a Green Party spokesman said this: after attending a public event, Zach accepted a request to collaborate on a post with several images. Once this image was brought to his attention, he immediately unshared the post. He unequivocally does not support this type of dangerous message. OK, thanks again to my panel. Coming up in just a moment.
If our rich people leave, they're also our biggest taxpayers.
Bombshell, and the estimates have suggested that the number of millionaires has collapsed to its lowest level since the financial crash nearly 20 years ago. So who will be left to pay all the taxes? That's the question.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into tomorrow, we'll feel slightly cooler under cloudier skies. Otherwise, in the sunshine, it's a hotter day ahead. A brief hot spell this time, though, gradually turning cooler towards the end of the week. And for this evening, we've still got a north-south split in the weather. Low pressure dominating northern areas, but high pressure holding on to the south. So mostly dry with clear skies for much of England and Wales. But the low pressure still continues to bring in more cloud and some spells of rain across much of Scotland and at times Northern Ireland and northwest England. For although it is set to be a very warm, if not quite muggy night across parts of the south, where temperatures aren't going to drop much past between 17 to 19 degrees, so a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping in through this evening. Then on Wednesday, there will be some spells of rain to start, this turning heavy as it crosses over hills, but a little bit brighter towards the far north of Scotland, though still some showers pushing through. Still some rain affecting parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northwest England, and perhaps a bit more cloud around Wales to start compared to recent mornings. But otherwise, you can see it's a very warm and bright start across much of England and Wales, and temperatures are going to be pushing up through the course of the day, a hotter day into tomorrow compared to what we've seen this afternoon. And there'll still be a fair amount of cloud, this thick enough to produce some spells of rain still across much of the northwest and turning a little heavy at times. But for most, particularly across central and southern England and Wales, intense sunshine, high UV levels and temperatures pushing up into the mid-30s, so a very hot day here. On Thursday, though, the temperatures will start to come down. There will be some cloud and perhaps the odd shower, very hit and miss across England and Wales. Longer spells of at times quite heavy rain pushing into Northern Ireland and parts of Scotland Scotland, so we remain in that north-south split, and we remain that way for the rest of the week. Temperatures will be coming down though, but still feeling warm in the sunshine.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, Christopher Hope. So is Britain facing a millionaire migration crisis? That's what the Right of Centre Adam Smith Institute has claimed. They say that Britain's millionaire population has collapsed to 442,000, down from, get this, 1.07 million. That was the peak in 2021. That's a big fall. Critics are blaming the high taxes for this apparent exodus. But tonight, we wanted to show you some really worrying figures on how significant this could be for the rest of the country. Now, the top 1% of earners in the UK, they pay 28% of all the income tax earned by the Exchequer. That's nearly £100 billion in income tax alone. And that will go towards the NHS in your area, welfare and other essential spending priorities. When we expand this a bit to the top 10% of earners, they pay 60% of the entire income tax take. That's roughly £200 billion. Now, bear in mind, of course, these top earners will be paying tax via national insurance, VAT when they go to the shops, capital gains when they buy or sell shares or businesses, for example. The list goes on. But the point is that the more of these top earners leave the country, the more the rest of us on lower incomes get squeezed. And we have to fork out more when the money runs dry. And joined now by my panel, the former Conservative Minister and a former Treasury Minister too, I think.
No, never made it to the Treasury.
Sir Ranald Jai-Warner. And the journalist and former Secretary to the late Paddy Ashdown, Joe Phillips. Well, Ranald, I will ask you a question about finance, even though you're not in the Treasury. But it's still a worry, isn't it? Yeah. These figures here. The huge fall there in numbers of millionaires, and it matters.
Yeah, it really does. And may I commend you and GB News for actually setting out those figures around the top 1% and the top 10%, because this is not talked about enough. And it's really important that the whole population understands that it's really important Britain remains an attractive place for businessmen and women to remain, rather than for people to have to fly to foreign shores in order to live a happier existence. And it's really important, as a result, that taxes are well spent in this country so that people feel they're getting proper value.
Because that maintains confidence in the system.
Absolutely.
I mean, Joe Phillips, the idea of a wealth tax has been mooted by Steve Rotherham, who's the Mayor of Liverpool and an ally of Mr Burnham. Do you think a wealth tax is that's going to scare even more millionaires off?
I think it has been tried in other countries and it doesn't actually work. And I think that's what you have to look at. You have to look at what has worked and what doesn't work. Unfortunately, there are millionaires like Philip Green and Michelle Mone who give the rest of them a bad name.
Well, they're not here to
no, they're not.
Themselves,
but you know,
but let's talk just generally about millionaires.
But generally speaking, I mean, this is interesting. So Adam Smith doesn't quote anybody from the government, either the previous Business Secretary Peter Kyle or the current one, Jonathan Reynolds. And I think their figures are not the same as the ONS office, because they're using a different matrix. So, you know, if you look at the value of somebody's property portfolio, for instance, it may have gone down, because of property prices, not because of higher taxes.
You don't think these millionaires are being scared off by Labour policy to raise taxes,
no,
employers, national insurance and so forth?
There will always be some people who don't want to pay tax, for sure. But, you know, this comes out in the same week as we've had a number of people, musicians, Gary Lineker and business people, the patriotic millionaires, wanting to pay tax. So, you know, the two things are not completely mutually
But if they
exclusive.
want to pay tax, they can send a cheque to HMRC today, and HMRC and the taxpayers of this country will thank them for it. Do they do that? No. And where we've seen tax rates rise even further on highest earners in Scotland to 48% of someone's income, they've seen the tax take fall. And so this is further proof that if you push these tax rates for higher earners too high, people
and that's
just
because
disappear.
people can avoid that because they put more money into their pension, for example.
Or they move to England in that
country.
context. And there are a load of people who've moved from Edinburgh to Northumberland.
Do you? How many?
There are lots of people. I don't know that, but I've heard of loads of people.
More than 10.
Who've done exactly that.
Or is it true?
No, it's dozens of people.
Is it?
Dozens?
Yeah, that I know.
You know who have fled Scotland.
A clan, perhaps.
Including Nicola Sturgeon, of course.
But is she a millionaire, though?
Yes, I do think, you know, there are other ways of looking at it, because if you look at, you know, the paper you're looking at there, Chris, the Telegraph, there is not a day goes past with how to avoid inheritance tax, how to keep your, you know, property safe and all the rest of it. So we've got this culture of we all want perfectly better public services, but nobody wants to pay for them. And I think there needs to be a whole shake-up of taxation, which is about, you know, whether or not you raise the personal threshold, which would give people more money to keep. You've obviously got to cut
Andy
benefits.
Byrne said he'd look at that, and I won't look at it, apparently.
Well, who knows? Everybody thought they knew who was going to be Chancellor, and nobody got it right,
Well,
Chris.
the biggest thing that any government should do, in my view, and I wrote a report on this with the Centre for Policy Studies, which I commend
When
to
you
you
weren't
and your
at the
viewers.
Treasury.
When I wasn't at the Treasury, is to actually back families. You know, so actually in this country, it's one of the most expensive countries in the world to raise a family. It's why people have fewer children than they would like.
What does it mean, back families? What does that mean?
So at the moment, there is no transferable allowances of any meaningful amount. It's really difficult for people to get on the property ladder as a result because they've not got the income.
The cost of
childcare is expensive.
You can transfer if you live for 7 years, can't you? There's a way of transferring.
No, this is when someone's a young mum or dad, right? So, you know, hopefully you've got many, many years to live.
So things like Andy Burnham's proposal to give families £4,500 if their kids are on apprenticeships, because otherwise they would lose benefits, is a really good thing, because that's making families.
Look, I'll happily support anyone to get better education and improve themselves and get a job, but this is starting at the beginning, when people have babies and, you know, when people can't go to work because they're providing that childcare themselves, and we should give people the choice whether they want to look after their own children or not.
Is the point here, Joe Phillips, that if you go after the richest people, many will just leave or lessen their tax take, and then we all suffer? That's the point.
Well, I think it is, and I think, you know, you've got to be transparent. Well, of course, we want to encourage entrepreneurs and business people to invest in this country, and we don't want them to run away.
Joe Phillips, thank you. Stay with us to Renan Jai Award. No, not from the Treasury, but still.
I think our viewers know that.
Thanks to my panel. Coming up in just a moment. Happened there in what could have been one of the most extraordinary club cricket scandals. Saltburn Cricket Club have been accused of tricking umpires by clicking their fingers to mimic the sound of the ball hitting the bat, like that.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, you're heading away for the summer holidays. Well, it's turning very hot across parts of France and Spain. High pressure dominates across Europe, bringing plenty of dry weather. Very warm across the Canary Islands as well as towards Madeira. Coastal areas of Portugal and Spain will be cooler, temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s. Towards Italy, though, as well as Greece, very hot indeed. There is a risk of thunderstorms as well across the Alps, but it does remain fine, dry and warm into the weekend as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is GB News. Britain's news channel.
Let's talk now to showbiz journalist Nelson Aspen and former US House Advisor Lee Cohen about this conversation. Good evening, gentlemen. Nelson, let me start with you. What has Oprah been criticised for here? Because a lot of people have taken a shot at her watching this interaction.
That's right. Oprah is worth well over $3 billion. She does not need to present a retrospective of her greatest moments, but she is obviously desperate to stay relevant. And in this 1.5 hour special, the Harry and Meghan interview comes in at about 15 minutes. And it was obvious that she needs to backpedal. It is obvious that it was the greatest softball display of favoritism in broadcast history, almost.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Temperatures are set to soar again next week as heat health alerts remain in place across large parts of England. So my favourite meteorologist to talk to ever in life is John Ketley. John, good to see you. Looking very suntanned and gorgeous, it has to be said, in matching pink. John, we've got another heat wave on the way.
Surprise, surprise.
Hey, it's summer.
Yeah, it seems to have been a very prolonged summer this year, didn't it? Obviously, it started early. We started with that very hot weather in May, which is unusual. And then we had further hot weather during June and again in July as well. So it seems a little bit different this year. It's been going on for so long. It's almost as if we've been really, the tentacles of Europe have been extending across the UK, and we've turned into a continental regime, really.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's just a fact of life. You know, I'm of the generation, my grandfathers and great uncles all fought in World War II, but my children, you know, that's not a memory for them. They never met anyone who was in the Holocaust, and we have short memories. We're the TikTok generation. We have, you know, 5 seconds worth of attention we put on anything. So I think it's a good step. UNESCO has had some scandals in the past, or at least they've chosen to recognize things that perhaps I don't think are all that significant, but the D-Day beaches I visited myself a few years back, they're very well preserved, by the way, so I'm not sure how much this adds in terms of resources or what it can really do to increase young people's knowledge of history, but it can't be a bad thing, can it?
I mean, it's an amazing story all around, and it's a story that deserves to be told over and over and over again.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, Christopher Hope. Now, the sleepy world of village cricket normally echoes to the reassuring summer sounds of leather on willow. I can hear Ranjai Wardener putting his feet on the desk and thinking of cricket, a scene of which many of us have seen, of course, in the countryside, but now has been engulfed in a scandal of the most heinous kind. That was one of the cricketers from Saltburn Cricket Club, one of the fielders, apparently clicking his fingers like this as the ball passed the bat. It is claimed that that click was meant to imitate the sound of the ball clipping the edge of the bat, and therefore the batsman was out if the ball was caught by the wicketkeeper. And the video ends, the umpire does in fact give the batsman out caught behind. The North Yorkshire and South Durham League is now investigating the club, and they say this. The league has received a formal complaint regarding alleged incidents in a Division 2 game on Saturday. A full investigation has been initiated. Until such time as the formal processes are complete, no further comment will be made. So there you go. Now, Saltburn went on to win that match by a whopping 159 runs, and since then, other examples... Now, Jo Phillips is impressed by that. She doesn't even follow cricket. Since then, other examples showing the same issue have surfaced. Joining me now is the former England cricketer, the legend who I saw play when I was a cricket fan back in the day, Angus Fraser. Gus Fraser, great to have you on. What do you make of this? I mean, let's not cast aspersions on Saltburn Cricket Club, but the point of village cricket is it's taken on trust. Everyone trusts everyone else to play the game according to its spirit. I may have. He's so enamored by. He's so enamored by the question, he fell asleep.
Well, I don't know. He's in the car.
He's in the car.
Is he now doubling up doing Top Gear or something?
He's not. But to you, Alan Warden, you are a cricket fan. Yeah. That's the point of village cricket, isn't it? Yeah. You basically everyone's on this what's going on, and we're not saying that anything happened in Saltburn and went to see that investigation. Of course, there could be a reason why all that happened. But anyway, that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was at Hooker Newnham Basics Cricket Club, my old cricket club, a few weekends ago. It's exactly the sort of place that you describe, which is that teams play in a very friendly manner against each other. People abide by the rules. People live by the spirit of the game that must be alive. And it's so disappointing because this is just this is not cricket.
No, it's not.
I was in fact explaining to my daughters, they were watching the 100 the other day, and one of the Overton brothers was signalling to the umpire that it was a 6 and not a 4, giving away more runs. And my daughters were asking, well, why is he doing that?
It's not football, that's why.
And it's because people do the right thing. And so to see this, possibly, I mean, we don't know what the investigation's going to conclude, but to see the suggestion that this is the case is deeply troubling.
Joe Phillips.
I think it goes deeper. I think this is poison at the heart of the village.
Joe Phillips, really?
Well, it's like cheating at the cake competition,
wow,
isn't it? I mean, I think whoever is found guilty or not needs to be in the stocks on the village green.
Do you?
I do.
Bring back the stocks.
Bring back the stocks, absolutely.
That's new Lib Dem policy there, right there.
I know we're very good on that sort of, and village fakes as well.
It's funny because Andy Burnham makes tea by putting milk on a tea bag, and now
that's very weird.
That's weird too. Now this assault on the very heart
of England.
Yes,
exactly. No,
you can't trust anybody, can you?
It's such a shame.
They want to get Infantino involved in village cricket.
Nowhere near.
He'll sell it.
Village cricket in North Yorkshire, thank goodness.
But and part of it is also to be an example to children.
Yes.
And there are cults in all sorts of cricket clubs around the country who'll be watching this and going, well, hang on, is this what I'm meant to be doing?
The point is, in football, you mentioned FIFA and Infantino, Gianni Infantino runs FIFA. In football, there's a culture by some of the players of rolling around, slightly feigning industry.
Not in the women's game.
Not in the women's game, in the men's game, winning a penalty or free kick.
Yeah.
That can't happen in cricket.
No.
And all the women's game of football.
No, exactly. And it's not the spirit that people need to follow. And so, it's really important that village cricket clubs across the country continue to teach the next generation of cricketers what cricket's really about.
An investigation.
The WI investigate?
Yes.
Interesting.
I think that would be the way to bring
Miss Marple, is there one case of Miss Marple?
I think it might be, because it might turn nasty. I mean,
things do turn nasty.
Yes, you know who's there with the secateurs.
I think Joe Phillips has got a handle on this. If you didn't like cricket, you know exactly what we're talking about, and the importance of it too. Randall, somehow this will come to an end. I mean, this, of course, is village cricket, and nothing lasts for long, and they all get together for a sandwich and a glass of beer at the end of the day.
Yes, and hopefully normal service can be restored.
Yes.
And
which one is looping bowling, missed catches, dropped catches,
and warm beer.
Joe Phillips.
John Major.
OK, look, Joe Phillips, thank you for joining us. I really have enjoyed it. And also Sir Randall Award, and it'd be great to have you on. Of course, you remember the MCC, aren't you? The Marylebone Cricket Club, which established the game, of course, at Lord's. Someone else who's a member of the MCC is Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg.
No, you do surprise me. Good Lord.
Jacob Rees-Mogg joins me now from Westminster. Jacob, what do you make of... would you ever cheat at cricket? Not the saying that Saltburn have cheated, but would you ever click your fingers at the wrong time?
No, of course not. But one shouldn't get too pious about this. The great W.G. Grace was famous for what one might politely call gamesmanship. He famously, when he was bowled, said to the umpire, "Windy day, umpire." And the umpire replied, "Yes, Mr. Grace, I hope it doesn't blow your cap off on the way back to the pavilion." So this type of thing has always gone on in cricket, and you just have to stop it when it occurs. It is a little bit unfair on amateur umpires who don't have a DRS system to click just as the ball goes past, because it will make them give the batsman out.
Are you suggesting it's all part of the wax and wane of the summer sport? We should just let it all go and call out, but not get too worried about it.
I wouldn't get too worried about it. It does happen. It shouldn't happen, but it does. W.G. Grace set up Test match cricket to make money. He didn't set it up for the honour of the game. And we get very boring sometimes about cricket and the spirit of cricket and think it's always been very gentlemanly. And I'm afraid that's not true. It's had lots of rogues in it over its distinguished history, and its rogues are part of its rich tapestry.
Well, Jacob, I'm now worried that your comments might get you chucked out of the MCC, but I'll move on very quickly. What's on your show tonight?
Well, I'm going to be talking about this too. I've got three sons playing cricket, I think, as we speak, for Blagden versus Barrow Gurney, which will be a tightly fought match. Peter, Thomas and Anselm battling away for the honour of Blagden. But I'm also going to be talking about the death tax and how this is going to affect people. It's another tax from Labour when the country is pretty much fully taxed. And I just don't think this is going to be manageable for people. I think it's too much.
OK, Jacob Rees-Mogg on State of the Nation. Sounds a great show. We'll be tuning in, and it will not be cricket if you don't watch. OK, Joe Phillips, thank you for your time, and Sir Reynolds Wardener, great to have you both here. Now it's over to the weather. Yes, hope you enjoyed, and thank you for joining us. I hope it's sunny for the cricket tomorrow.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into tomorrow, we'll feel slightly cooler under cloudier skies. Otherwise, in the sunshine, it's a hotter day ahead. A brief hot spell this time, though, gradually turning cooler towards the end of the week. And for this evening, we've still got a north-south split in the weather. Low pressure dominating northern areas, but high pressure holding on to the south. So mostly dry with clear skies for much of England and Wales. But the low pressure still continues to bring in more cloud and some spells of rain across much of Scotland and at times Northern Ireland and northwest England. For although it is set to be a very warm, if not quite muggy night across parts of the south, where temperatures aren't going to drop much past between 17 to 19 degrees, so a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping in through this evening. Then on Wednesday, there will be some spells of rain to start, this turning heavy as it crosses over hills, but a little bit brighter towards the far north of Scotland, though still some showers pushing through. Still some rain affecting parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northwest England, and perhaps a bit more cloud around Wales to start compared to recent mornings. But otherwise, you can see it's a very warm and bright start across much of England and Wales, and temperatures are going to be pushing up through the course of the day, a hotter day into tomorrow compared to what we've seen this afternoon. And there'll still be a fair amount of cloud, this thick enough to produce some spells of rain still across much of the northwest and turning a little heavy at times. But for most, particularly across central and southern England and Wales, intense sunshine, high UV levels and temperatures pushing up into the mid-30s, so a very hot day here.